The rain is alive. It clings to you, warm and sluggish, each droplet bursting like an abscess when it hits the ground. The sky above is the color of a rotting bruise, swollen clouds sagging low as if the heavens themselves are sick and tired of holding their own weight. Somewhere in that churning ceiling, something laughs, slowly, indulgently, its voice carried on the moist wind. This is not a battlefield, not anymore. This is a world that has already died and decided not to stop. On a Nurgle Plague Planet, life continues in ways that defy every instinct you still remember from cleaner worlds. Cities still stand, though they sag like diseased bodies. Streets remain busy, not with the footfalls of soldiers or merchants, but with the wet shuffle of the faithful and the damned. Bells toll endlessly, not to mark time, but to celebrate decay itself. Each note is rusted, off-key, and reverberates through bone and swollen flesh alike. You wake up coughing. That never stops. Your lungs burn, then numb, then burn again. Each breath dragged through passages slick with phlegm and something else that wriggles when you're not looking. Pain should be unbearable. It isn't. That's the first lie this planet tells you. The pain fades, replaced with a dull, almost comforting pressure, as if your body has made peace with the idea that this is simply how things are now. You sit up on what used to be a bed. The mattress is a fungal mat, pulsing faintly in rhythm with your own heart. Maggots nestle in the folds of your skin like favored pets, and when you move, they fall away reluctantly, plopping onto the floor where they immediately burrow back into the filth. The smell is indescribable, sweet rot layered over iron, bile, and the heavy musk of mildew. But after a while, you stop noticing it. That's the second lie. Outside, the city exhales. Towers twist skyward like broken ribs, their surfaces overgrown with fleshy membranes and rusted icons of the plague god. Pipes bleed pus instead of steam. Rivers crawl instead of flow, thick with sludge and the bloated carcasses of creatures that died days ago and refuse to sink. Above it all, enormous flies drift lazily through the air, their wings droning like cathedral organs tuned to misery. Yet the people live here. They walk the streets wrapped in tattered robes and swollen armor, bodies warped by disease but eyes bright with fervent devotion. Limbs may be missing, replaced by writhing tentacles or rusted augmetics fused directly to bone, but there is no fear in their faces, only gratitude, only patience. You pass a man whose jaw has sloughed away entirely, exposing blackened teeth and a tongue split by infection. He tries to smile at you. Yellow mucus drips down his chest as he bows, whispering a prayer of thanks to Grandfather Nurgle for the gift of endurance. Children play nearby. They shouldn't be able to move, let alone laugh, but they do. Their skin is translucent and stretched tight over distended bellies, veins crawling beneath like rivers on a map. One child's eyes have fused shut, yet it giggles as it chases a floating parasite the size of a dog. Another coughs up a cloud of spores, clapping delightedly as they drift away. No one mourns sickness here. Sickness is proof of belonging. Above the city, from balconies of corroded brass and bone, plague-bearers watch over the population. Demons of Nurgle, they move with a loping, clumsy gait that somehow never falters. Their single eyes blink slowly, eternally amused. Each carries a rusted blade etched with tally marks, records of every soul who has succumbed, every disease lovingly shepherded into existence. When they speak, their voices are like bubbling mud. They teach, they guide, they correct. When a mortal's infection begins to weaken, when a fever breaks or a wound tries to close, a plague-bearer may intervene, reopening sores with careful tenderness, whispering apologies as fresh contagion is introduced. This is discipline. This is care. Further in, beyond the hab blocks and the fungal manufactorums, rises the cathedral. Once, it may have been dedicated to the Emperor. Its original shape can still be guessed beneath layers of corrosion and obscene growth. The aquila has been split and reshaped into the three-ringed sigil of Nurgle, each loop formed from fused bodies and brass. Bells the size of tanks hang from chains of vertebrae. Their ringing felt more in the gut than the ears. Inside, the air is thick with incense made from powdered bone and distilled plague. The faithful kneel in pools of infectious slurry, murmuring prayers between hacking coughs. Priests, once human, now barely so, deliver sermons with lungs that spill out of their rib cages, voices wet but resonant. They speak of resilience, of joy, of how entropy is the truest expression of love, because everything is embraced equally in the end. Here, death is not feared. Death is pitied. Those who truly die, who fail to rise again as bloated husks or plague zombies, are spoken of in somber tones, not as sinners, but as the unlucky, souls too weak to withstand Nurgle's boundless affection. Their names are added to the great ledger, and their remains are recycled into nourishment for new life, bacteria, insects, and worse. Beyond the cathedral lies the garden. Even calling it that feels obscene, but that is what the locals call it, and they speak the word with reverence. Acres of swollen vegetation stretch toward the horizon, each plant a fusion of rot and vitality. Trees bleed sap that infects the soil. Flowers open to reveal tooth-lined blossoms, breathing clouds of contagion into the air. Pools of stagnant water ripple with unseen movement, reflecting a sky that pulses like a diseased lung. And at the heart of it all, the laughter grows louder. The presence is impossible to miss. You don't see Nurgle, not truly, but you feel him in everything. In the way wounds refuse to close, in the gentle warmth that spreads through your veins when a new infection takes hold. In the quiet reassurance that no matter how broken you become, you will never be abandoned. This is the cruelest truth of the Plague Planet. People are happy here, not in spite of the suffering, but because of it. The endless decay strips away ambition, fear, and loneliness until all that remains is acceptance. Pain becomes background noise, hope becomes unnecessary. You endure, and in enduring, you are loved. Far above, orbiting vessels watch in silent horror. Imperial augurs register impossibilities, biosignatures where none should exist, populations thriving without food chains that make sense. Sometimes, a fleet will attempt exterminatus, desperate to erase the corruption. But the planet resists. Viruses clog targeting systems. Warp storms rise without warning. Even when cyclonic torpedoes make planetfall, the surface bubbles, then settles, and life continues, reshaped but unbroken. Deep within the garden, something stirs. A cauldron vast beyond comprehension bubbles with fresh plagues yet unborn. Chains rattle. Ledgers turn their own pages. The laughter swells, affectionate and patient, as if savoring a story already written. And somewhere among the coughing crowds and ringing bells, you feel it too. A change in your breath, a new tightness behind the eyes. Another gift taking root. You realize with a creeping mix of dread and comfort that the planet is not done with you yet. Not even close. The change announces itself quietly. Not with pain or fever or the tearing agony you once imagined would mark the end of who you were. It begins as a warmth behind the eyes, a pressure like hands gently cupping your skull. Your thoughts slow, stretch, then reorganize themselves around the sensation. Breathing feels deeper, easier. Each inhale carries more than air now, something rich, fertile, alive. You stumble, catching yourself on a wall slick with living moss. The surface pulses beneath your palm, responding to your touch like a sleeping animal. When you pull your hand away, the skin is wrong, swollen, Veins bulge in patterns you don't remember having, branching outward like root-seeking soil. You should be afraid. Instead, curiosity blooms. The streets feel different today. The flies swarm closer, tasting the change on you. Plague bearers linger longer as you pass, single eyes narrowing with interest rather than indifference. One of them reaches out, clawed hand brushing your shoulder in a gesture almost congratulatory. Its rusted blade scrapes the ground as it moves on, tally marks clinking softly like prayer beads. Soon, it croaks, voice thick with mucus. So generous. You don't ask what that means. Part of you already knows. Time behaves strangely on the Plague Planet. Days blur together in cycles of ritual and rot. You work, if it can be called that, tending fungal vats, harvesting parasites from bloated cattle things that barely resemble animals anymore, carrying offerings to shrines grown from bone and iron. The labor is constant, but exhaustion never quite takes hold. When your muscles tear, they knit back together wrong, thicker and tougher. When your skin splits, it heals into ridged scars that itch pleasantly. At night, if the dimming of the sky can be called night, you dream of gardens. Not the ones you walk through while awake, but something grander. Endless fields beneath a black sky, plants growing and dying and growing again in moments, all overseen by a vast silhouette seated beside a cauldron. You never see the face clearly, but the presence fills the dream completely, warm and amused, like an old relative watching a child learn to walk. You wake each time with a sense of reassurance and a growing hunger. That hunger draws you outward, beyond the familiar districts of the city. You find yourself walking paths you don't remember learning, descending into lower strata where the air grows thicker and the light fades to a sickly green glow. The architecture here is older, more warped. Imperial foundations twisted by centuries of corruption. Corridors lined with reliefs half buried beneath layers of living filth. This is where the new arrivals come. Ships still fall into this system from time to time. Some are traitors seeking favor, some are lost travelers dragged in by the warp, others are prisoners, dumped here as punishment or containment. They come down screaming, confident that death would be preferable to whatever waits for them. They are wrong. You find them huddled in a pen grown from cartilage and iron, guarded by plague bearers and hulking figures in corroded power armor. Plague marines, ancient and patient, standing like monuments to ruin. The arrivals cough and retch, clutching at skin already breaking out in angry lesions. Their eyes dart wildly, searching for mercy. Once you might have pitied them. Now you feel something else. A gentle sadness that they don't yet understand how lucky they are. A woman locks eyes with you through the bars. Her face is raw with terror, streaked with tears cutting clean lines through grime. "Please," she rasps. "They said there were survivors here. They said—" Her words dissolve into coughing as a parasite crawls from her throat and drops onto the floor, wriggling happily. She gags, trying to pull it free, sobbing in disbelief. You kneel beside her without thinking. The bars feel warm beneath your touch. They pulse, responding to you now and slowly. Mercifully, they part. The woman recoils as you reach for her, but your hand is steady. When your fingers brush her cheek, the infection spreads instantly, blooming like frost on glass. Her shaking slows, her breathing evens out. She looks at you, confusion overtaking fear. "It hurts less," she whispers. You smile, your jaw cracks slightly as you do, teeth shifting to accommodate the expression. "It will," you tell her, voice thicker than it used to be. "All of it will." Behind you, a plague marine inclines his horned helm in approval. Days, or something like them, later, you are summoned. The call does not come in words. It hums through your bones, pulling you toward the garden once more, deeper this time, past the fields where pilgrims wander and into spaces few mortals ever reach. The vegetation here towers overhead, massive growths arching together to form corridors slick with spores and dripping fluids. Each step sinks slightly into the ground, which feels less like soil and more like a living organ. The air is heavy with reverence. Others walk beside you now, not friends. You no longer think in those terms, but fellow supplicants. Their bodies show the same signs of transformation. Distended chests, extra limbs forming beneath skin, eyes clouding over with colors no human spectrum should contain. Some weep quietly, overwhelmed by the sensations flooding through them. Others laugh softly, already surrendering. At the center lies the cauldron. It is larger than any structure you have ever seen, its rim disappearing into the haze above. The substance within bubbles slowly, each rising burst releasing new scents and shapes, visions of worlds coughing themselves to death, of armies rotting where they stand, of civilizations lovingly reduced to compost. Chains suspend enormous figures over the brew, beasts, champions, failed aspirants, still dissolving into something useful. A voice rolls across the clearing, vast and intimate all at once. So many kinds of strength, it muses, so many ways to endure. The presence presses down on you, not crushing but encompassing. Memories surface unbidden, a clean sky, a different name, fear, loneliness, struggle. Each one is examined, then gently set aside like toys no longer needed. You understand now. This planet is not a punishment. It is a refuge. A place where the universe's cruelty is made honest. Where decay is not hidden or delayed, but embraced fully. Where no one is ever alone in their suffering. The cauldron bubbles louder as you step forward. You feel yourself thinning, boundaries softening, individuality loosening its grip. Around you, others are already changing, bodies sagging, reshaping, becoming vessels for new purposes. Some will rise as plague bearers. Some will dissolve entirely, feeding the next cycle. All outcomes are equal here. As your knees sink into the warm, infectious ground, a flicker of something unexpected stirs deep within you. A memory of resistance. For just a moment, you remember why the Imperium fears this place. Not because of the rot, but because of how easy it is to stop fighting it. How willingly the self dissolves when comfort replaces struggle. The realization lands like a quiet bell tolling in your chest. If you surrender fully, there will be no going back. The laughter swells, patient as ever, waiting for your choice. And somewhere far above, beyond the swollen clouds and warp-choked skies, distant guns begin to fire, a sound long unheard on this world. The planet shudders. Something new is coming. The distant thunder does not fade, it grows. At first it is only a vibration beneath your knees, a trembling that ripples through the garden's spongy ground. Spores shiver in mid-air. The towering growths sway as if a great breath has been drawn somewhere far away. The cauldron's bubbling changes pitch, the rhythm no longer indulgent but attentive. You feel it then, a ripple of tension, not fear but interest. War has returned to this world. The supplicants around you react in different ways. Some gasp in rapture, believing this to be another blessing, another chance to prove endurance. Others look up for the first time with uncertainty flickering behind glassy eyes. A few collapse entirely, bodies liquefying into warm slurry that is eagerly absorbed by the roots beneath them. You rise slowly. Something inside you tightens, not against the presence that surrounds this place, but against yourself. The memory of resistance resurfaces, sharper now, driven by the shock waves rolling through the planet's crust. You had forgotten how loud violence is when it arrives from the outside. How crude, how desperate. Fire tears through the cloud cover. From gaps in the swollen sky, streaks of white-hot light punch downward, carving lines of molten glass across the horizon. Thunder follows, deafening and immediate. The first orbital bombardments land far from the garden, but you feel each impact echo through your altered bones. The laughter you have come to know pauses, not silenced, just considering. You move with the others as the garden stirs to life. Vines retract, revealing trenches of corrosive ooze. Great bells begin to toll again, not slow and ceremonial this time, but urgent, summoning defenders from every layer of the city. The faithful spill into the streets, forming processions that feel almost military despite their decay. Plague Marines march from their centuries-long vigil, armor grinding as ancient servos awaken, weapons coughing streams of filth and corrupted flame. Through the choking haze, you see the attackers descend. Drop pods slam into the outskirts of the city, ceramite hulls glowing red as they crash through living architecture. Hatches blow outward, and figures pour forth in disciplined lines. Space Marines in uncorrupted armor, bearing the sigils of a chapter sworn to cleanse worlds like this from existence. Their bolters roar, each shot detonating bodies into clouds of spores and burning ichor. For the first time since you arrived, the city screams, not in pain, but in exhilaration. The defenders surge forward, welcoming the onslaught as if greeting long-lost relatives. Diseases leap from body to body, unseen but relentless. Bolter rounds tear apart bloated forms, only for the remains to keep crawling, grasping, laughing wetly as they cling to armored legs and joints. You watch it all unfold from the edge of the garden, and you realize the truth. This war was never a threat to the planet. It is a harvest. As the Imperial forces push deeper, their efficiency falters. Vox channels clog with static and coughing, armor seals fail as corrosion blooms overnight. Brothers begin to lag behind, movement stiffening, blood seeping from seams they sealed themselves centuries ago. You can almost feel the moment when fear starts to take hold, not fear of death, but fear of survival. They had come expecting to kill. They were not prepared to endure. A tremor passes through you, stronger than before. Your chest tightens, not with illness, but with awareness. Memories flood back again, clearer now, not just the life you lived before this place, but the moment you arrived. The sickness that should have killed you in days. The relief that followed when it didn't. The warmth. You were never meant to resist. You were meant to change. A plague bearer limps to your side, its ledger dripping with pus as it scribbles new tally marks. It looks up at you, eye gleaming with approval. You feel it now. It rasps. The purpose. The purpose is not to worship. It is to spread. You move without orders, without hesitation, stepping beyond the garden's threshold toward the battle lines. Each footstep feels lighter, faster, as if the planet itself is carrying you forward. The air around you thickens, swirling with invisible motes that cling to your skin and seep into your breath. A squad of Space Marines spots you. They raise their weapons, hesitation flickering as their auto-senses struggle to categorize what you are. You do not charge. You simply stand there, arms open, breathing deeply. When the first bolt round hits your chest, it detonates in a spray of filth that coats their armor in steaming decay. You do not fall. The infection leaps faster than gunfire ever could. One of the Marines stumbles, clawing at his helm as warning runes scream across his visor. Another drops to a knee, coughing violently, blood seeping through his rebreather. Discipline holds them together for precious seconds, but seconds are all that's needed here. You meet the gaze of the first to fall. Behind his lenses, you see it. The moment his strength gives way, the moment relief follows. His breathing eases. His grip loosens. Even as his body betrays him, something inside relaxes, surrendering to the same lie that once seduced you. Pain fades. You step past them as they collapse, already changing. The realization blooms fully now, impossible to deny. This planet does not corrupt by force. It converts by compassion. The Imperium, with all its iron resolve, cannot compete with that. Above, the bombardment slows, then stutters, then stops entirely. The guns fall silent one by one as ships report outbreaks, system failures, entire crews rendered combat ineffective within hours. Warp interference surges, isolating vessels, trapping them in orbit like flies in amber. The laughter returns, richer than before. You feel a hand, vast, unseen, rest briefly on your shoulder. Not ownership, approval. You have become what this world always needed, not a warrior, a carrier. As the battlefield settles into a grotesque stillness, you look back once more toward the garden, toward the cauldron and the comfort it promises. For a heartbeat, you wonder if you could still choose differently. If resistance, once remembered, could still matter. Then another wave of coughing echoes through the ruins, joined by wet laughter and the tolling of bells. The choice dissolves like everything else, and deep within you, a new question takes root, slow and patient as any disease. If this is victory, what will you become when there is nothing left to infect? The question does not fade. It lingers in you, heavy and unresolved, even as the battlefield grows quiet. Smoke hangs low over the ruined districts, drifting in slow curtains that glow faintly with bioluminescent spores. Bodies, Imperial and corrupted alike, lie tangled together, their outlines already softening as rot works quickly, lovingly. The bells continue to ring, but now they sound different, slower, deeper, as if the planet itself is listening. You walk among the fallen, and nothing tries to stop you. Plague Marines part without command. Demons avert their gaze, not in deference but in recognition. Wherever you step, the ground reacts. Small growths blooming in your footprints, infections accelerating unnaturally fast. You are no longer just a recipient of this world's generosity. You are a vector given intent, and intent brings weight. Above, in the bruised sky, something vast shifts. Clouds spiral inward toward a single point, forming a slow, deliberate vortex. Warp light flickers at its edges like distant lightning caught behind diseased flesh. You feel a pressure behind your ribs, not painful, but insistent, as though something is slowly winding itself tighter around your heart. The war is not over. It has simply moved inward. You reach what was once the city's central spire, now little more than a slumped tower of corroded adamantium and bone. Its interior is exposed, split open by bombardment. From within comes a low, rhythmic sound, chanting, not the wet, joyful murmurs of Nurgle's faithful, but something harsher, angular, defiant. You know that sound. You descend into the ruin, each step echoing louder than it should. The air grows clearer the deeper you go, scrubbed of spores by crackling energy fields. Symbols carved into the walls burn with cold blue light, pushing back the rot just enough to create a fragile pocket of resistance. At its center kneels a figure in scorched power armor, helm removed, face bloodied but unbroken. A Space Marine librarian. His armor is cracked, one arm hanging uselessly at his side, veins dark and swollen beneath pale skin. Warp energy coils around him in flickering strands as he chants through clenched teeth, holding the corruption at bay by will alone. He looks up as you approach. His eyes widen, not with fear, but recognition. So, he says hoarsely, it learned to walk. The words strike harder than any weapon. You stop a few paces away, unsure why you're listening. His presence is agony to your altered senses, like cold metal against exposed nerve. Yet, you cannot bring yourself to silence him. You were human once, he continues. Blood drips from his nose as the strain takes its toll. I can still see it, buried, smothered, but not gone. Images flash through your mind, unbidden, clean air, unbroken skies, the simple sharpness of pain that once meant something. You stagger as the memories claw upward, threatening to surface fully. That thing you serve. The librarian whispers, voice trembling but fierce. It doesn't love you. It uses you. It steals your fear so you won't fight back. A tremor runs through the chamber. The walls pulse angrily, disease pressing hard against the barrier of psychic force. Somewhere above, the vortex tightens, the sky darkens another shade. You feel it then, a response, not anger, hurt. The presence that has wrapped around you since the beginning draws closer, heavier than ever before. The warmth returns, stronger, like arms closing protectively around your mind. Whispers flood in, layered and patient. Why cling to pain? Why return to fear? Why choose struggle when you could rest? Your vision blurs. The librarian shouts something, but his words are swallowed by a rising sound. Deep, resonant, echoing from everywhere at once. The ground cracks. Diseased roots tear through the stone, strangling the chamber in living decay. The psychic barrier flickers as the rot presses in harder. You take a step forward. The librarian braces, gathering the last of his strength. Warp light flares around him, burning away crawling tendrils, purging infection with brutal efficiency. For a moment, just a moment, you glimpse what this world might look like without Nurgle's hand guiding it. Dead, silent, empty. The realization hits harder than any sermon. This planet thrives because suffering has been given meaning. Strip that away, and there is nothing left but ash and screaming ghosts. You feel the truth of it settle into you, heavy and undeniable. Your hesitation costs him. The pressure overwhelms the librarian's defenses. Roots punch through his armor. Spores flood his lungs. He screams, not in pain but in rage, until his voice dissolves into coughing. You watch as his resolve breaks. Feel the exact moment the fight leaves him. When it ends, he slumps forward, transformed but alive, breath rasping in something close to peace. The chamber exhales. Silence follows, broken only by the steady drip of rot and the distant toll of bells. You stand alone amid the ruin, chest rising and falling unevenly. You have crossed a line you cannot name, but you feel its weight settle permanently into your bones. Above, the vortex completes its slow rotation. The sky opens, not with light, but with depth, a vast, impossible opening as reality thins like overworked flesh. From within comes a presence so immense it makes everything before it feel like preparation. The laughter is no longer distant. It is close enough to feel against your skin. The planet trembles not in fear but in anticipation. You sense it clearly now, a choice approaching, not yours alone, but the world's. Ascend beyond this role you've accepted. Become something more. Something that will not merely spread decay, but embody it. The pressure builds, the air thickens. The bells fall silent all at once. Every instinct tells you that the next moment will decide everything. And for the first time since you arrived on this world, you are not certain whether you should welcome it or remember how to scream. The silence stretches. It presses against your ears harder than any explosion ever did. Even the flies still themselves, hanging in the air like dark punctuation marks waiting for meaning. Above you, the opened sky convulses slowly, layers of reality peeling back to reveal a depth that has no color and no end. The wound in the heavens throbs, and with every pulse, your heart answers. This is not an arrival, it is an invitation. The ground beneath your feet softens further, yielding like warm flesh. Around you, the ruins of the spire sink, becoming part of the living mass of the city once more. The librarian's transformed body is already half consumed by blooming growths, his face slack in something resembling relief. The last trace of defiance drains from the space like smoke leaving a sealed room. You stand at the center of it all, and at last you understand why. The presence does not speak in words now. It no longer needs to. The garden, the city, the rot, the laughter, they align, forming a single immense awareness that folds inward, narrowing its focus until nothing exists but you and it. Not ruler and servant, caretaker and child. You are lifted, not physically, but existentially. The limits of your body loosen like old bindings. Your perspective stretches, expanding outward in impossible directions. You feel the planet as a whole. Every bloated hive, every coughing pilgrim, every plague marine standing silent vigil in armor older than nations. You feel infections blooming like stars, each one a small miracle of persistence. You feel Nurgle's joy, not cruelty, not madness, joy. It floods through you in warm, unbearable waves, the joy of watching something endure what should have ended it, the joy of seeing despair transformed into stability, fear softened into acceptance, the joy of a universe that breaks everything eventually, and the quiet pride of helping things break slowly enough to adapt. You are shown truths, worlds that begged for extinction, only to beg again when death came too fast. Civilizations that clawed desperately at immortality, damning themselves to endless terror. Species that feared decay so deeply they strangled their own futures trying to prevent it. And then this place. A plague planet that learned the secret everyone else refused to hear. That suffering is inevitable. That decay is honest. That endurance is sacred. The final barrier inside you cracks. You feel it give way not with a scream, but with a sigh. Resistance drains out like a fever finally breaking. All the strength you once admired, the clenched teeth, the stoic defiance, the endless war against entropy, feels suddenly small, exhausting, lonely. Why fight the tide forever when you could learn to float? You kneel, though there is no ground left in the way you remember it. The world bends around you in response, forming a basin of living matter, cradling your form. The opened sky pours its impossible depth downward, threading into your body, your mind, your soul. You are changing. This time completely. Your thoughts slow, then clarify, then broaden beyond individuality. You feel yourself multiply, not fracturing, but echoing. Every infection you've ever carried stirs, each one becoming a voice, a memory, a promise. Diseases older than planets coil lovingly through you, eager, patient, waiting to be guided. You are no longer merely a carrier, you are a gardener. Above the planet, Imperial ships lose their final cohesion. Command structures collapse. Crew members fall one by one, not screaming, not panicking, but coughing, slumping, surrendering. Some pray, some laugh weakly. A few fight until the end and are remembered briefly, fondly, before being forgotten. The warp vortex tightens, and from it, something vast begins to descend, not fully, not yet, but enough for the world to feel the weight of its attention shift. The clouds rupture completely now, pouring diseased light over every horizon. The bells resume, not urgent, not celebratory, reverent. You rise into this new awareness, senses stretched thin across continents. With a thought, you slow an outbreak in one district, allowing fear to ferment a little longer. With another, you accelerate decay in a different region, silencing unrest before it can question too loudly. Balance, always balance. You finally see yourself as the planet sees you, not as a monster, as an answer. And yet, deep within this boundless communion, something small still flickers. A final echo of the person you were. It does not scream. It does not resist. It simply watches. It remembers the librarian's eyes. The moment of hesitation. The brief glimpse of a silent, dead world. You allow the memory to exist, not as a threat, as context. Because now, you understand something even deeper, something Nurgle himself seems to acknowledge with a slow, approving pause. Decay without awareness is just destruction, but decay guided by choice, that is creation. The presence recedes slightly, not abandoning you but granting space. Trust. The storm of sensation calms, settling into a steady, immense rhythm. The planet steadies beneath your influence. The sky begins to close, the wound knitting shut with hideous tenderness. You remain, changed, expanded, permanent. Far below, the faithful continue their lives, coughing, laughing, enduring, never knowing the exact moment you became something more than one of them. That is as it should be. Gods, you realize, are rarely worshipped in the instant they are born. They are lived with. As the bells fade once more into a slow, comforting cadence, you feel the future unspool in countless, patient threads. New wars, new visitors, new worlds that will one day cough their way into your care. You do not rush toward them. There is no hurry now. For the first time since your arrival on this rotting, beautiful world, the question that once haunted you finally finds its answer. When there is nothing left to infect, you will learn how to wait. The planet breathes again. Not the ragged inhalation of invasion, nor the eager gasp of transformation, but a slow, steady rhythm that settles into the bones of the world. Clouds drift lazily across a sky, still bruised but healing. The bells no longer command or warn. They simply mark existence, one toll following another, endlessly patient. You remain, not standing above the world, not buried within it, but threaded through every layer like a quiet hum beneath a melody. You feel the streets as they soften and reshape, feel the cities sag and stabilize into forms that will last centuries. You feel the people wake, work, rest, and endure. Their coughs are familiar now, their pains known, their small, stubborn joys resonate faintly inside you. This is what waiting feels like. Time stretches differently when nothing needs to be conquered. Seasons pass without calendars. Generations bloom, rot, and are recycled into the rhythm of the planet. Children are born knowing sickness the way others know sunlight, accepting it without fear. They grow, change, and are never alone in their suffering. Once, you would have called this a nightmare. Now you understand it as continuity. You no longer intervene constantly. That was the urgency of becoming. Now restraint is the greater art. Some fevers are allowed to burn longer. Some wounds are permitted to scar imperfectly. Even decay benefits from patience, especially decay. You watch an old man sit outside his collapsing hab, body bloated and heavy, breath rattling softly. He smiles as the flies gather, hums a half-remembered tune to himself. When his strength finally leaves him, the ground rises gently to meet him, taking him without ceremony or loss. Nothing is wasted here. The memory of who you were remains, faint but intact. No longer a wound, no longer a temptation, just a reference point, a reminder of why this existence matters. You can still imagine the sharpness of clean air, the cruelty of worlds that demand strength without offering comfort. You can still feel the loneliness of fighting entropy alone. And that, you realize, is why you were needed. Not to erase suffering, to give it context. From far away, beyond warp storms and rotting stars, the galaxy churns as it always has. Empires rise, empires burn. Armies march with banners raised, swearing that this time will be different. Some of them will find their way here eventually, by accident, by desperation, or by fate. They always do. When they arrive, they will expect horror. They will find something quieter. A world that does not beg or threaten. A world that simply endures and invites them to do the same. You feel Nurgle's presence still, but distant now, like a watchful horizon rather than an overbearing sky. There is trust between you, an understanding. You tend what he loves. He allows you the freedom to decide how. Creation through decay. meaning through endurance. Life, not despite entropy, but because of it. The laughter comes occasionally, soft, satisfied, but it no longer defines the moment. The world does, the people do, the slow, inevitable turning of existence does. And as you wait, you find yourself wondering, not with dread, not with yearning, but with genuine curiosity. If a universe that fears decay could ever understand the peace found in accepting it. If strength is truly measured by resistance, or by the courage to endure without hatred. The bells toll again, gentle and unhurried. The camera pulls back farther and farther until the plague planet is just another sphere turning in the void. No louder, no darker, no more monstrous than any other world struggling to survive. And still, it lives.